Welcome to SVM Hoopin. I'm sports editor Dan Waisner alongside assistant sports editor Christopher Heimerman, and we're recapping 1A, 2A girls basketball. The season came to a close last week with the Prophetstown Profits falling in the 1A River Ridge sectional semifinal to Aquin. Seems like that's as good a place to start as any. Chris, you were at that game. We knew all season that it was going to come down to those two teams most likely, and Aquin pulled it out.
Isn't it great how obviously a lot of fun games in between then and now, a lot of storylines, but you knew that that was the absolute collision course, and it was a phenomenal game. You know, you've got the perennially undersized Prophetstown Profits who really found a nice way to actually maybe... Don Robinson didn't care for me using this term, but every once in a while they kind of came across as the bully in that game, that they were going to take it to Aquin. They weren't going to be intimidated by the size differential. And, you know, unfortunately, as I wrote in my column, the last minute of that game just kind of left something to be desired. They didn't get a shot off when they were down 3 in the one-possession game. You know, Larry and I sat right in front of a play where Haley Chang from Aquin had the ball tip off her hand, and it got called out off Carly Stafford. But you know, as Don Robinson pointed out, and as anybody would point out, there's a lot of plays in the game leading up to that point, so you can't focus too much on that. But it was a phenomenal atmosphere. The Aquin student section, to show some dap to our neighbors to the north, they were a lot of fun, and Prophetstown was represented very well as well. It was postseason basketball at its finest, so you gotta tip your cap to Prophetstown for a great season, even if it had to come to a close at some point. Let's talk about the game that you had, Oregon and Byron, and others, the kind of seemingly fated collision course between a couple of great programs who were really kind of hidden apex this season.
Yeah, well, when I came back, I kind of said I felt like the best team won that game between Byron and Oregon. They were very, very close. I'm not going to say that Byron's way, way better than Oregon. I think Byron's just built to succeed in the postseason a little bit better than Oregon. Byron has the post players. When you have two girls that are over 6 foot tall, I mean, you can just feed them and feed them and feed them. Yeah. And Oregon just doesn't have that.
Who do you kind of look at to come back next season, reload well, and make a nice run?
Well, Eastland will. And the thing about that conference is Sophie Bruner is, well, the NUIC in general, East and West, and that 1A regional up that way is Sophie Bruner's gone. So now there's this kind of hole. Who's going to fill that hole? Because before Bruner was Whitney Kiefer up at River Ridge Scales Mound, who just could take over games. And so now there's that opening. It's there for Eastland. McCumber may be the best player coming back in that conference. If she can stay healthy, they could make a long run. The other team I marked down is probably Erie. They were a 20-win team this season, but they did it really quietly, and they did it shorter in the shadow of Prophetstown being right there.
Tonight we've got a huge game on tap. The Sterling going to Genoa Kingston for a sectional semifinal against Lutheran, trying to avenge that previous loss. And here's where I'm going with this. Trust me, I'm going to get there. I want to see some Devin Absher from the Sterling Golden Warriors tonight. I want to see some grit and some fire. Julie Schrader's been asking for it for quite a while this season. If they show some, and if they can get past Lutheran, I think you said it best when you said if Sterling comes to play, they run their stuff, they can beat some pretty doggone good teams. Next week we'll talk about the Sterling game a little bit.
Yep, it's been a great 2013 season for 1A, 2A girls. We'll be doing our year-end package in a few weeks once all basketball gets wrapped up. Start thinking about who you guys think should be Player of the Year, Coach of the Year. We've talked about a few definite candidates today, I think, and we'll probably talk about maybe a couple candidates next week off of that Sterling game, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Hit us up on Twitter. Use that hashtag SVM Hoopin, at Dan Waisner, at @CHeimerman_SVM. Let us know who's your Player of the Year.
All right, thanks for joining us.
See you guys at the games.